Claire had always been an insomniac. While others surrendered to dreams, she remained stubbornly awake, watching the world sleep around her. It was this condition that led her to the fourth-floor apartment on Maple Street, far enough from traffic, high enough to escape street noise, perfect for someone who spent nights reading instead of sleeping. The building was old, built in the 1920s, with thick walls that promised silence. The landlord, Mr. Kowalski, had seemed almost too eager to rent it. "You'll love it," he'd said, his eyes darting nervously. "Very quiet neighbors. They keep to themselves." The first week passed without incident. Claire settled into her routine. Work until 6, dinner alone, then hours of reading by lamplight while the city slept. She'd grown comfortable with her insomnia over the years, treating the night as an extension of her day rather than fighting it. It was on the 8th night that she first heard them. At exactly 3:17 a.m., soft, shuffling sounds came from the hallway. Claire looked up from her book, listening. Footsteps, multiple sets, moving slowly, deliberately. They stopped right outside her door. She waited for a knock, a voice, anything. But there was only silence. After several minutes, she crept to the peephole and peered out. The hallway was empty, lit by a single flickering bulb. She must have imagined it. The next night, 3:17 a.m. again, the shuffling. This time, Claire was ready. She pressed her eye to the peephole the moment she heard them coming. What she saw made her step back in confusion. 3 people stood in the hallway, perfectly still, facing her door. Their eyes were closed, heads tilted at odd angles, dressed in night clothes. They swayed slightly, like trees in a breeze she couldn't feel. As she watched, one of them, a middle-aged woman in a floral nightgown, raised her hand and placed it flat against Claire's door. The others followed suit. Claire's heart hammered. Should she call the police, confront them? Before she could decide, they turned in unison and shuffled away, disappearing around the corner. The pattern continued. Every night at 3:17 a.m., more sleepwalkers arrived. First 3, then 5, then 8. They would stand outside her door, swaying, touching it with their palms, then leave. Claire started documenting them with her phone, but the videos showed only an empty hallway. The sleepwalkers didn't appear on camera. She tried staying awake in different rooms, even spent a night in a hotel. But she could feel it. At 3:17 a.m., she knew they were there, standing at her empty apartment door, waiting. Claire began researching the building's history. The library's archives revealed disturbing patterns, unusual deaths, disappearances, all connected to the 4th floor. In 1952, an entire family had vanished from apartment 4B, her apartment. The only clue was a journal entry. "They come when you're awake. They're looking for the one who won't sleep." Desperate for answers, Claire confronted Mr. Kowalski. She found him in his basement office, surrounded by yellowed files and old photographs. "You know about them," she said. It wasn't a question. He nodded slowly, not meeting her eyes. My father was the landlord before me. He wrote about them in his records. He pulled out a leather journal, its pages brittle with age. The building, it needs someone awake at 3:17. Always has. That's when the barrier is thinnest. Barrier between sleeping and waking. Between here and somewhere else. He flipped through pages covered in cramped handwriting. In 1924, there was a séance in 4B. They were trying to contact something. Instead, they opened a door. Now, every night at 3:17, that door tries to open again. The sleepwalkers, they're drawn to it, but they can't open it. They need someone awake, someone aware. Claire felt cold spread through her chest. What happens if the door opens? Mr. Kowalski's face was grave. The last time someone let them in, the family, in 52, they found the apartment the next morning full of people, dozens of them, all asleep, all dreaming the same dream. They never woke up. That night, Claire packed to leave. But as she reached for the door handle at 2 a.m., she found she couldn't turn it. The apartment wouldn't let her go. She was its guardian now, whether she wanted to be or not. 3:17 a.m. approached. Claire sat in her living room, every light on, gripping a baseball bat she knew would be useless. The shuffling began, but this time it was different. Hundreds of footsteps, a river of somnambulists flowing through the hallway. They didn't stop at her door. The handle began to turn. Claire had locked it, but the lock clicked open by itself. The door swung inward, and they poured in dozens of sleepwalkers, eyes closed, moving with terrible purpose. They filled her apartment, standing shoulder to shoulder, swaying in that hypnotic rhythm. In the center of the group, a space cleared. A woman in a 1920s dress stood there, her eyes wide open, staring directly at Claire. Unlike the others, she was awake, had always been awake. Finally, the woman said, her voice like dried leaves, "Someone who can see, someone who can choose." She held out her hand. In her palm was an old brass key. "Take it," she whispered. "Open the door in the wall. Let us go home. We've been walking so long, trying to find our way back to sleep. But we need someone awake to turn the key. Someone who understands the weight of never sleeping." Claire looked at the key, then at the walls of her apartment. There, where solid plaster should have been, was a door she'd never noticed before. Ancient wood, covered in symbols that hurt to look at. "What's behind it?" Claire asked. The woman's smile was sad and terrible. "The place where all dreams go, where sleep itself lives. We opened it once, looking for answers, but we couldn't close it from the other side. We've been stuck between ever since. Not sleeping, not waking, just walking." Claire took the key. It was warm, pulsing like something alive. She approached the door, knowing that whatever choice she made would change everything. The sleepwalkers pressed closer, their breathing synchronized, waiting. She turned the key. The door opened onto darkness, so complete it seemed solid. But within that darkness, Claire saw something that made her gasp. Cities of dream, landscapes of pure thought, worlds built from the accumulated sleep of humanity, and at its heart, a vast presence that turned its attention to her. "Choose," the woman said. "Close the door and condemn us to walk forever, or step through and take our place as guardian of the threshold. Someone must always stand between. Someone must always be awake." Claire understood then. The insomnia hadn't been a curse. It had been preparation. The building had been calling to her, searching for its next sentinel. Someone who could bear the weight of eternal wakefulness. She made her choice. The next morning, Mr. Kowalski found apartment 4B empty. Claire's belongings were there, but she was gone. The strange door in the wall had vanished, but that night at 3:17 a.m., he heard footsteps in the hallway. A single set pacing back and forth, guarding, waiting, never sleeping.